Just about 5:15 and happening today, big plans moving forward in New Haven.
City leaders there will meet tonight to discuss next steps in turning a former power plant site into a public park. Your reporter Sierra Jordan joins us now live in the studio with what comes next for the Ball Island Power Plant. Good morning, Sierra.
Good morning. The mayor is preparing to take the next big step by submitting legislation to the Board of Alders to approve the purchase of Ball Island property. The goal is to transform this long vacant power plant site into a new waterfront park for the community.
For decades, the power plant on Ball Island has been vacant. City officials say the plan is to acquire the property and turn it into a public park, including an outdoor pool. The proposed Mill River Park would offer about 3,000 feet of waterfront access. Mayor Justin Elicker says the site has been a blight on the community for far too long, following years of legal battles between the state and United Illuminating over environmental cleanup. Tonight, the mayor will ask the Board of Alders to move forward with approval to acquire the Ball Island property. He plans to do that through a traditional real estate purchase or through eminent domain if needed.
The proposal still needs to be approved by the Board of Alders Committee and then the full board. Your reporter in studio, Sierra Jordan, Channel 3 Eyewitness News. Back to you guys.
All right, Sierra, thank you.